Hello, hello. Welcome back to the studio, or welcome to the studio if this is your first video to check out of mine. Today I'm going to be going through some expressive art journaling, as the title says, and I want to talk about finishing what you start. And this is, of course, primarily applied to the art journaling, but also the reason that it has been on my heart and on my mind is just in projects in life and in following through with things that we decide to do. And I'll get a little bit into that as the video goes. So this particular piece, because this kind of message, this idea has been on my heart about finishing what you start, I thought, you know what, it makes sense to just do this session where I am, adding on to a piece that I really liked where it was. And I was like, you know what, I don't know if it doesn't need that much. And as I can tend to overdo, I had a lot. And so by the time I was like, I'll need at least another session to kind of calm some of it down and, keep going with it. But I think that sometimes is life, right? Is where we make decisions and we do things and we're like, you know what? Like, that's really nice. And so we'll leave it. But yeah, we're not really happy with it. We're like, it's all right. And other times where you overwork and you do too much. And you're like, I just need to step back for a minute. And so I definitely, I like to think about that kind of stuff, the correlation between our art and the real world. Because in my opinion and my mission and my goal with starting to share all of this is that it's not, this process for me is not about trying to become a better artist and trying to make a bunch of art that I can sell. This process is my way of kind of getting out of my own way and helping me to show up more fully in my life. Because I'm like, at the end of the day, like, that is what life is about, and doing the things that we really enjoy. And I'm like, I love painting like this. I love the abstract stuff. I love just this intuitive, playful creating. And I'm like, that is one of my favorite ways to create. And I think that I have maybe more success as an artist with my illustrative work, but I don't know. Kind of stumble there because I really enjoy my illustrative work too, and I'm really proud of that work. And so I think for me it's just kind of finding this maybe this merge between the two whenever I do sell art, but also with moving into being a therapeutic art and wellness coach, it really was this desire to help. And that is there because I have struggled with depression in my life. I have struggled with anxiety, and I would be lying if I say that I don't still struggle with my emotions sometimes, because I'm human. And sometimes it's hard to be like, oh, we still have to have negative emotion. Like that's just part of the human experience. And it doesn't mean that it's bad. And so I know that I still have work and I still have growth to do, but I've also come leaps and bounds on what I feel like was the emotional roller coaster that I used to experience a lot. And so, it's kind of one of those times when you feel like you have learned a lesson and you see other people struggling and you see other people have a hard time, and you're like, I could maybe help them if I spoke up, but I'm too scared. I'm too shy. I don't know if I really should say anything, that kind of feeling. And I wrestled with that of like, who am I to really step into this and to teach it? And what it really came down to was my own experience and the way that it has transformed my own life. And when I say my own life, I don't mean who I am as a person. It helped me get back to me. And it helped me to work on the habits and the routines and just the self-care and the self-talk to myself. It has not been this transformation of like trying to change who I am as a person. And I think that there's sometimes some confusing messaging around all of that. Not always, but I've seen a little bit of that. And so it kind of, that was one of those things that would sit with me. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, you know? And so anyways, all of this to say that I had my own journey, and then a family member is going through something really hard, and I felt so helpless. And I knew that a lot of the issues probably stemmed from depression or anxiety, and that I wish that I could help. And I told my husband that I was like, I want to go back and get my degree as an art therapist. And I spoke about this some in my previous video, or 2 videos ago, I'm not sure. But, you know, and we had a discussion, and I was like, well, so I was going to sleep on it. Largely, I just paid off my student loan debt in November, this past November. So I was like, I don't know that I want to get more student loan debt, and I want to be helping my family financially, because ideally we would like for my husband to be able to retire from the military in 2 years. But that means we got to give an answer in about a year or less. So, you know, so there's all these decisions and all these things and about how I want to approach it. And I had got a notification on YouTube that an art therapist I follow was going to be doing a mentorship program for helping people who want to do non-clinical art therapy. And I was like, you know what? This can be good. And so all of this, I laugh. I'm like, we are 7 minutes into this video, and I'm coming full circle around to finishing what you start. And I think the reason that this kind of sat with me was that that meant less time on my art licensing. That meant less time to work towards the activewear line that I want to develop. And I have a few designs and a few things up on my website. If you guys decide that you want to check it out, I will put the link in my in the description of this video. Just some fall and Halloween stuff. And so anyways, that is something that I will be building over time, and largely because I just really enjoy creating art, and I like to see it on products. I like to be able to wear it. I like to be able to have bags with it. And so there was a part of me that felt like I wasn't finishing, but yet I had put in a lot of effort. And so the more I thought on this, and the more like it just kind of, I don't know, the more I sat with it, I was like, you know, I really feel that that this therapeutic art stuff is actually what I didn't finish, because I felt so passionate about this in 2020. And I look back and I'm like, I could have helped so many people who struggled through quarantine and through all of the things that COVID brought up for people, and just the struggle, you know. And I'm not saying like I'm a savior, but I'm like, I could have helped people have tools for ways to cope. And because of my own fear, and because I had my own stuff going on, and I was like, man, if I still am struggling, if I still don't have this figured out, how am I supposed to help other people? And you know, I realized I'm like, we all, like I say we all, like I think to a level, we all feel like you gotta have it figured out and before you can start. And that's with art. You know, people are like, oh, I'm not an artist, I'm not a painter, I'm not whatever. And I'm like, you don't have to be, especially with this art journaling. Like, you just start making marks, and you just start playing, and you start kind of figuring it out as you go. And I've been so good, especially in the past, in my younger years, but even with being a mom, like, you figure that out as you go, you know, like being a mom and getting into homeschool. Like, I got forced into homeschool during COVID, and then we've kind of had a weird journey with it, and kind of sort of, you know, like part-time, and now we're in this new groove. And that's partially why I haven't shared on here for the last few weeks was because I had my family, my parents were visiting for 2 weeks, and then we were starting into school, and we had done a trip for my son's birthday, and so it's kind of like getting into the rhythm and the groove again for with homeschooling. But we have this partnership program that they go 2 days a week for their homeschool, which is amazing. But I figured that out as I went. Like I didn't go to school to be a teacher. I almost went to school to be a teacher, actually. I almost went to college to be a teacher. But it has been such a fulfilling journey, figuring it out with them, seeing them grow, seeing them learn. And so I remind myself as I am doing this to help serve you guys and to help try to reach people, to help communicate, like learn how to talk about what it is that I'm doing to help you guys, because I have realized I'm not great at communicating all the time. Like I think I am. I want to be good at communicating. I believe that it's important to communicate and to be honest with one another and, and with ourselves, which this process is a lot, which you can't see because I already had painting, but it starts with writing and journaling and being really honest with ourselves, and really honest about how we're feeling. And so all of this is that I'm going to just, I had to make the decision that I'm like, I don't do self-doubt. That's my new mantra. I picked it up from a Marie Forleo thing I watched recently from Max Out Live, and she was talking about I don't do overwhelm. I was like, yes. So definitely I don't do overwhelm, but I don't do self-doubt, because that's been a big one for me. And self-doubt, every single time I have seen it come up for me, it's like I kind of slow down in my tracks. I'm like, and it like takes whatever I am doing, takes me 3 times as long, because it's like I gotta reread it, recheck it, and all the things. If you've ever been there, please let me know in the comments, because sometimes I'm like, why can't you just go for it? And so that's what I'm attempting to do with this video. We shall see if you guys enjoy it or not. My goal is to not voiceover, which is what I'm doing right now. I ran into problems, and now I can't remember actually if I even told you this at the beginning, because my daughter interrupted like a couple minutes into the first time I tried to record. So I had to be like, give me like 30 minutes so I can record this. But anyways, whenever I recorded this, I just talked. And I recorded it. I was like, I'm just going to try to keep it as simple as possible, and just whatever message that I want to share, I'm going to share with you guys. And just work on communicating and saying what it is, about this process and, the value and really how I've seen it transform and impact my own life. All good. I said some great things, guys. I think I did. I don't know. But I had music playing from, it was a playlist on YouTube, like channel, and it was up to just enough too loud that it picked up, and so it got flagged for copyright. And I was like, oh man. And so I was like, I could have gone through these channels and tried to figure out who it was, and I was like, that just seems like a giant hassle. So I decided I'll just re-record. It is what it is for right now. And, the goal is progress, not perfection. I keep telling myself that, and to say, just don't have the self-doubt. Just show up. Just do it. And so this is me. This is me attempting to start to just be authentic in what I am sharing. And I always try to be authentic, so that's a weird word to use. Self-doubt, I guess, to try not to second guess if I'm being authentic, if I have communicated it right or well enough, or all the things. And so hopefully you get some value out of this. I know I'm kind of going on and on around it right now, but I'm a talker, and I used to apologize for that. You know what? Like, I was like, oh, I'll get more like succinct or on. No, I probably won't. I have gotten a lot better whenever I am teaching, like actually teaching something I've been practicing, and I get a teleprompter so that I can like scripted out, and I've gotten good where I can read it and it's pretty, I can talk, speak pretty natural about it, but that way I stay on point when I'm actually trying to teach like a class. And so, but what I realized, I'm like, you know what, YouTube, like, I don't need to be trying to teach all these classes. Maybe here and there I might pop up with some in the future, but for now, I just want to get into this groove of being consistent and really sharing the painting process and talking about it, and not just talking about the painting process, but again, kind of how things impact things going on in our lives, how we can sit down at our art journal and really write it out and see what's going on and combine those thoughts with how it's making us feel to how we want to feel. And I realized too, that's kind of a shift with mine. I've had times that I've done big paintings that I really like cried and had anger, and I let all that out on big canvases. But for the most part, I started realizing that really more what I was doing, I was picking colors for how I want to feel. And I believe a lot in like color therapy type stuff, that color impacts us. And so I would start picking colors based off really how I want to be feeling in my life. And I would work through this process of, writing out how I'm currently feeling, where I'm at. But I really was starting with, how do I want to feel? Just based on a feeling. I didn't know how I was going to get to that feeling. And I didn't, at the time, whenever I start, sometimes it's like I'm feeling just overwhelmed or anxious or just unsettled. A lot of times it's more of like I feel unsettled. And I say unsettled in the beginning when I started. Now I feel a lot more capable, I guess, of in the moment being able to recognize certain thoughts and thought patterns that I've had in the past and stop them in the tracks. Like I don't do self-doubt. Like I recognize that dialogue in my head now. And so I'm able to like immediately talk back to it. And I'm also gotten a lot better at being able to breathe through. If I feel my energy starting to amp up a little bit, like I'm starting to feel anxious or I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed, it's like, no. And I take that deep breath and I start breathing through it. But before, I didn't recognize what was driving the way I was feeling. And so that is why this became such a powerful thing, was because it was like I had a place to really be honest about what was going on, and I paid attention to how I was feeling as I was writing out these words. And so I'll talk about this in every video probably to some degree, the process, because I think it's more and more being talked about sorry. I'm a dork. Anyways, but the way that our self-talk and our mindset is with our beliefs, and how all of that, like our self-talk, can stem from a belief, and then it also can reinforce and help change that belief. And so it's a very interesting cycle, in my opinion. And because the base thing, if you look at it on like the basics, that's that our beliefs are going to kind of create the way that we're thinking, especially beliefs that we are unaware of, that it's like we don't necessarily realize we have certain beliefs. They've just been ingrained in us. We've lived with them for so long. They're just second nature. They're just there. They're kind of in our subconscious. And so those beliefs then are driving all these thoughts within, are creating the way we're feeling. And we don't really know why we're getting so amped up, or why something pushes our buttons, or we don't know why. And so it makes it very hard to calm yourself down when you don't know why, and you can do the breathing exercises, but if you're still having those thoughts, then you can just get amped right back up, right? And so that's why it's really important to combine knowing what thoughts are driving that, so that you can then start responding back to those thoughts with, it's not just necessarily positive self-talk, but a lot of times neutral self-talk, or on certain things, stopping it in its tracks, like, no, I don't do self-doubt. So all of that, but how those feelings are, and then the way we feel or don't feel is gonna, drive how we're acting, our behavior, or the actions that we take, and then of course we'll get whatever kind of results that we have in our life. And then we'll ultimately, that will reinforce the initial belief. And so it's like, can be, if you don't know what the cycle is, it can be a vicious cycle. And it's why you can get stuck in like a negative thought pattern, in a negative loop, if you're unaware of that. And so again, I'm still unpacking things. I'm like, this has been approximately 5 years that I have been working through things. I still have things that I thought I resolved, that something will trigger it. And I'm like, whoa, it kind of like knocks me off my feet because I'm taken aback by it. But the difference is now is that if I do get really emotional like that, I'm like, what? I know I can sit down and do this process. I know that this is here for me. And not only is it like working through all of that, but art is also, there's been studies that show that art helps decrease cortisol levels, your stress hormone. And so it in and of itself will help calm you. And so there's all these things that it's so great. And I think, somebody wanting to move into this field, into this space, and knowing, how do I do it without going back to get my master's? How do I do it and really make an impact that I want to do, knowing that I can't diagnose depression, I can't diagnose anxiety, but I'm like, I can provide resources for people to help on here, and then my ideal client will be, a little different maybe. And so it's been kind of working through some of that. And it's also been looking at just how people show up with art journaling online, how people show up just with creativity and wellness. And, I've seen a lot where people are using, there's habits and wellness to, be more creative in your life. And I think creativity in your life is important. I mean, we are creators, all of us. We create the life that we have. And it's a weird dynamic when you really think about it. And you're like, I do have that control in my life, even though a lot of times we don't feel like it. And I say I definitely have gotten into grooves where I'm like, I don't feel like I have any control over it. But I'm also a Christian. And so I think there are parts of that again, that I've had to work on my beliefs around and see, how does this fit within that, and my belief system around God and being a Christian and all this, because I definitely picked up some beliefs that I don't know were necessarily sermons I taught, but were detrimental. They were not from like a loving God. I look at some of the stuff, I'm like, I don't. And so I had to evaluate that. And I am not trying to push Christianity or any of that, but I am saying to really look at each belief and, is this something that, whether it's for you or, for in God's eyes, like, is this helping you show up and serve and live the best kind of life you can? And I say serve because I think that's just the typical way of phrasing it. We want to help people. And again, growing up in the church, that, you help serve. But really, it is just this heart to have an impact. And I realized that also it's really about, I think, our happiness, like helping others can help us be happy. And so again, it's that fine balance, because a lot of times you're hearing about self-care and making yourself a priority, and it's not, it's not selfish to put you first. And that is true, but there's definitely a balance to it all. That's why we can struggle with it, right? So, yeah, I know I've going on and on and on. Let's see. I think I want to circle back to the main title of the video, which is finishing what you start. And so, again, I've talked in depth about, for me, finishing what I start is building my business based off being a therapeutic art and wellness coach and putting the other distractions to the side. And part of this, it's really interesting because I'm like, as I create things here and as I create any illustrations on my own that I feel will work for products for my activewear, I will add. But the main focus and where my time is going to be going is towards this therapeutic art and wellness, because that is where I feel called to be showing up, and it is where I feel the most in alignment. And so there's been this really there's a season for everything, and all the lessons I've learned and all the different things that have brought me back to this moment and have reminded me that this is what I am passionate about. Do not give up. Finish what you start. Go after it. See it to the end. Because at least if you give it everything you've got, then there's no regret. Then I know that I tried my best and that I really went for it and that I didn't let fear keep me from sharing something that I feel is so incredibly valuable. And it really, on my heart, I'm like, I know the power of it. And, trying to explain that, trying to communicate that, I am still working on. And so that's what a lot of these videos will probably be, me sharing a different lesson I'm learning, that I am going through, that I hope will serve you, that will resonate with you to help you on through your day. And also working on communicating this process, communicating what it is of how I can show up and serve and how I can impact the world. And, the best way is to just start doing it. Confidence comes by doing, right? And so it's like, the more you do it, the more you talk about it, the more you're like, oh, people really resonate with that. People did not respond or resonate to this. When I said this, ooh, that made a lot of sense. This one, that's really muddled. I don't know that made any sense, and being brave enough to just say, it's not perfect, but hopefully there's a nugget of information that will help somebody through their day, help somebody through their week. And I truly trust that will happen, that the person who needs to hear this message will hear it. And that's how it will be for every single video, that the people who need to hear it will hear the message that I am sharing. And so that's how it's going to be. I'm going to try to have my setup where my music isn't heard in the background so that I can just paint and I can talk through it and just show up and kind of feel like we're hanging out together. I eventually am going to be opening some spots for free one-on-one classes. If you are interested, you can most definitely drop a comment, leave a comment below, and I can reach out to you. And then I also am going to be trying to do some group kind of classes or sessions that, again, kind of feeling like I did one with an artist I love, Latal Gold. I hope I pronounced her name right. Latal, I believe is how she pronounces it. Amazing artist. I'm like super fangirl. And anyway, she did a drawing session once that I was a part of, and I was really impressed because it felt just so casual and relaxed. And it was like a group of women sitting around a table drawing together. And everybody, maybe not everybody, but the majority of people had their video on, had their sound on. And so people could just jump in and ask questions. As she was teaching, she'd be like, does this make sense? Or does anybody have a question? You could just speak. And, she asked people to go around and introduce themselves at the first and got people talking. And I really it just was such a relaxed and natural flow and feel to it. And so it very much inspired me for how I would love for my groups to go. And, I don't even really like the name calling it groups. It's like, I want it to be like a paint party, or like some that are like a celebration of what's going on. And then some that are a little bit more like, a chill hangout night that maybe is a little more serious type conversations, a little more intimate feeling. So anyways, those are just kind of the thoughts that are swirling around. This weekend, I'm actually taking 2 whole days, no kids, to myself, to line out what I'm going to be offering exactly. And so anyways, if you have ideas, if you want to be a part of possibly getting in on the free one-on-one sessions or into the free group sessions that I will offer in the very, very beginning, please let me know. I'm only going to do it to maybe 5 people. That's kind of my thoughts. See how it goes. If I need more practice, then I'll do some more. I feel pretty comfortable. I've been doing some one-on-one sessions like in person, but online's a little bit different of a ball game. And so anyways, all of this, it's getting lined out, and I'm going to finish what I start. I'm going to see this to the end. Hopefully I'll be an old woman when it's time to say, you know what, it's time, and pass it on. Maybe one of my kids will want to take over. They're really crafty. They're very artistic little children. And so, which would be amazing. My daughter says she's going to own a butterfly sanctuary, and my son says he's going to own a farm. So, who knows what the future holds, right? But yeah, I think, trying to gather my thoughts, because again, none of this is scripted and I'm just kind of chit-chatting as I go. But finishing that, and the other thing I don't think I shared kind of my finishing thoughts on earlier was I was going through my old art journals, and there were, as I was skimming through them, there were a couple that were almost done. They weren't quite there, but I really, really liked them. I liked where they were going, and I was like, you know what? I want to finish those out. And so one I did, and I really love it. I love just the energy to it. I love the message in it. And that's, again, why the art journal is so great, because I'm like, I may never frame that. That one in particular, if you go to my Instagram account at The Art of Living Vibrant, I have one of the stories is wallpapers, and so I have that one available as a wallpaper. I do plan to start sharing about once a month, probably sharing some wallpapers, and I may do affirmations on them, but at least some artwork if you just want a cool artistic looking phone wallpaper. So that one can be found there. But back to the art journal, the pages that still were just really rough, that I was just getting something out really quickly, that I don't feel like it did its purpose and it is what it is, and I don't feel like it's going to move me forward anyway, that I don't feel that it really has a message that I need to be getting from it. It's just taking up space. I ripped them out, and I have this very big maybe it's becoming an obsession, I don't know, but it's this idea of clearing the clutter, and it is the mental clutter. That's another thing with this process, is like really, really clearing out, like, how do I get rid of like all these thoughts that bombard me, which again is from certain beliefs, those limiting beliefs that have us second guessing or like doubting ourselves, self-doubt. For me, we all have different things, but it can calm a lot of the negative, those automatic negative thoughts, as Dr. Daniel Amen calls them. And so this can help to calm that. And it's kind of clearing out the clutter. It's getting past, like, recognizing those certain thought patterns that we have, so we can talk back, we can stop them in their tracks. And, if there's certain things we can do in life to work on them, then we can really resolve and, become better, become stronger, whatever it is in certain aspects of our life that helps that negative belief kind of fall away. It's like we build up the new strong belief, and sometimes again that's just the way we talk to ourselves, and it's that rewiring. Again, I'm going to go back to the I don't do self-doubt. I don't do self-doubt. That is rewiring my brain. And so again, there's all these different ways for that, but it's clearing the clutter from our mind. I try to go through my house and clear the clutter. I'm in desperate need of doing it, I feel like right now, because we moved this past year and it's been trying to find places for everything. I've gotten rid of quite a bit. We had our townhouse in Maryland was about double the size of our current house, and a lot of stuff I got rid of before I moved to Belgium because I knew the houses were small. I knew we wouldn't have closets, and so they don't have closets there. And so I got rid of a bunch of stuff, and then we could do what they call non-temporary storage, and so a lot of things went there. Well, all that stuff came here, and so it's been trying to like sort, get rid of what I can, find places for other stuff. But I still am like, I like things to have their place, and I still feel like I'm not quite there in this house, even though I'm like, gosh, we're coming up. January will be a year. And I'm like, I need to get my butt in gear. But, we've done a lot in the house. There's been painting, there's been electrical, there's been new windows, there's just been a lot. This house had more work than I thought it was going to. So, anyways, clearing the clutter, mentally clearing the clutter, physically, and even like detoxing, like our bodies. I am currently doing a 30-day detox through Arbonne that I like to do. I prefer to do it about once a year, sometimes twice a year. Primarily, there's like a drink that's like on a cellular level, but it helps to get the toxins out of our body. You don't have to use a supplement. You can do all clean foods. There's like the Whole30 that's paleo. There's all kinds of different things with eating and whatnot. But I think taking a moment to do some research and like clearing toxins from our body, again, it's like clearing out that stuff that just we don't need, is really important, because it makes, I don't know about our bodies making space, but by clearing that out, it helps our energy to make space to do the things we want to do, because we show up more and we do more things when we have the energy, right? So anyways, conversation for another day. And I think, I can't tell where my bar is. I'm like, I think I'm almost to the end. So I'm gonna stop this real quick and see and give you guys my closing thoughts. Again, I know this isn't perfect. I would have liked to been like a nice smooth transition to the next thing, but I apologize. All right, so I checked where the video is. There's a little less than 10 minutes left. So I'm gonna give my final thoughts. Who knows? I've been known to say, all right, I'm gonna wrap things up, and then I keep talking and talking because that is my family. I come by it natural. I can't help it. I can, but I do it. Anyways, so yeah, finishing what you start. What do you think about this? As I do want to comment, this painting doesn't get finished in this session, so it's kind of ironic. But I had been going, and it's a 46-minute long video, and I was like, you know what, like, I gotta end today's session because I had to get moving this morning and get my kids going with their a little bit of homeschool, and then running them out to their partnership program that they do for school. And so I was like, I gotta wrap it up. So I will share the finished version of this on Instagram once it is done. So yeah, you'll be able to check it out there, see how it turns out. And if you decide to follow along, please shoot me a DM, say hello. I like to welcome everybody too who decides to follow along. It is a pretty much brand new account. I opened it in 2020, and then I didn't do anything with it until just recently. I've just kind of sort of started trying to put stuff up as I'm been working through how I'm going to approach all this. And I've been starting, like I said, this weekend is really getting clear on how I'm going to show up online, what my offer is going to be, and the timeline for whenever I'm going to release everything. So, but if you want little bits of inspiration, things to help educate, entertain, inspire you on your personal journey to health and happiness, then, you can follow me on Instagram. You can sign up for my email list, which if you do that, I do have a free expressive art journaling course, which says art meditation. I will be kind of reworking that eventually, but I went ahead, I changed the name. I called it art meditation. That's what I have called it for years. But I realized as I started doing one-on-one sessions in person that the meditation part was not necessary to get the benefits of the process. And really, it's about the thought work, doing the journaling, and the creative expression. And so I decided to go ahead and change the name of it. And then also partly I decided because I ran into multiple people like, well, I just don't meditate. I don't really want to get into it. I can't sit still to meditate. I'm like, well, this is kind of different. You don't have to sit still to meditate, but it's like trying to convince people that, it's different. So my 2 thoughts on that, or 2 cents on it, is that if you are doing this process on your own, you most definitely can get into a meditative state. You can meditate during this process once you get going into the flow, if you so choose. But yeah, you can grab that free course on my website, The Art of Living Vibrant. You'll see it if you scroll down on the homepage. There's a picture for it. Or if you just scroll all the way to the bottom of the page and sign up on my email list, you will receive an email for that course with the password and everything to log in. So grab that if you're interested. If you are even still here and have stuck around with me, thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope that you've enjoyed hanging out with me. I look forward to the type of community, again, the paint groups or paint party type things to set up, because I just think that there's such an awesome opportunity to connect with people. Like I said, I really envision having one that's a little bit more like, we're going through and celebrating the small wins, because so many times we don't. And we think we have to have these big grand things in order to celebrate, and we don't. We can celebrate every day. We celebrate every day that we are alive. That in itself is such a gift. And I think so many of us, myself included, forget that just the fact that we are here and alive, and whatever gifts we have. For me, I'm like, that my hands work, that I can draw, that I can paint, that I am able to walk and drive a car and run my kids around, and I'm able to homeschool, all the little things, all worth celebrating. So I see having a group paint party type thing for the celebration, for all the little wins, and then one that's more of the chill paint night that I talked about. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, if this sounds cool to you or not. And then again, the one-on-one sessions. If you're interested in being one of my first online students or clients, please let me know, and I will reach out to you. And I think that's it, my friends. I think I may not be able to talk the rest of the day. I have talked so much. I have talked for almost 45 minutes. So anyways, I hope that you guys move into this weekend with so much gratitude, to enjoy your time, to get out in nature, to spend some time with just having fun, whatever lights you up. I hope that you make time for that this weekend. And yeah, I'm so excited about all of this. I just had this fire lit within me that is you have been letting self-doubt keep you from using your voice and talking about it because you have been too scared to say the wrong things. So this is me in all my talkative glory. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Until next time, my friend, peace and love.